Hey guys, Dov here with some more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play my own games recently, which is why I've been doing a lot more community casts over the past couple weeks, but it's also allowed me to do quite a few fun multicasts as well. Today is not a multicast, just a single Empire replay. I haven't casted an Empire game in a while, so a big thanks to Red Legion for sending this one. He's going to be facing off against the mighty Falcon in a practice game here. He's got Volkmar, silver bullets, some spearmen, and 2 mortars, along with a great cannon. Flagellants, swordsmen, spearmen, we've got Empire Knights, and yeah, pretty nice, wide, well-balanced build. Amber Wizard with Manticore summons and Flock of Doom. Alariel leading the way for Averlorn. We've also got 2 Handmaidens, very thematic. A couple of Dryads, so some nice, cheaper DPS infantry. Also got White Lions to outtrade most Empire State troops, archers, just for cheap, ranged fire, Lothran Seaguard protecting the flanks, and some Illyrian Reavers for a little bit of mobility. So an interesting kind of infantry-centric composition from the High Elves here, utilizing the Averlorn faction's access to Dryads to kind of give one more little DPS option. It's maybe a little bit more cost-effective than, White Lions in certain situations, but here, this is actually a really good engagement for the Handmaidens. They do get charged by the Empire Knights, which they'll take some damage on, but then they themselves have anti-large damage and will beat the Empire Knights in melee, not to mention a banishment being thrown in from Alariel just to put some icing on the cake. And like I said, these guys have taken a lot of damage. The cannon's been focus firing on them as well, but you can see here, Raptor's made a little bit of a mistake in that he hasn't played up far enough from his cannons, and all of the high elf bows are actually able to get into range and just pepper the cannon crew, the mortar crew. All of these artillery crews are just going to get absolutely savaged. The great cannon for the time being is still online, but this mortar's done for. Alariel drops down to try and tie down the cannon crew, at least prevent them from firing, and I'm not really sure the Empire Knights pulling away here. They probably should just pull in, charge Alariel, and try and stop her. Likewise, if you were to pull back with Volkmar the Grim and charge Alariel, he actually does have 50 charge bonus, so you'll get a little bit of extra damage there. It's going to be about 300 weapon strength in total on the charge, or pretty close to. But more so, the mass of Volkmar can block Alariel in, and along with the Empire Knights, he could have potentially kept her on the ground there. She was able to actually rout off that cannon crew. Likewise, the silver bullets have taken quite a bit of damage, but in the front line, flagellants are actually trading pretty well. The pick of the flagellants here was pretty nice. They were able to kind of counter the Dryads in some situations. State troops trading okay, all things considered, against White Lions, especially those Sigmar Sons, just so cost effective there. Empire Knights over on this side doing a great job kind of hammering those spearmen, helping to win out on some engagements. The swordsmen had been trying to pull up and through to get at this back line. It looks like they probably got a hold of those Lothran Seaguard, did a bunch of damage there. Mortars also firing in, but the Illyrian Reavers doing a great job breaking up the advance of those swordsmen and, doing some good damage on the charge there, utilizing that 40 charge bonus. Over on the far side, these Empire Knights did come back from rout, and of course the healing from Alariel will be very impactful on the Handmaidens. Summon Manticore is a little bit caught out here by like a handful of spearmen in kind of an awkward engagement. Maybe the Manticore, I don't know exactly where he initially targeted it, but definitely using the Manticore to go after the Handmaidens on a rear charge will be very effective. You probably don't want to leave them in combat. You want to probably try and cycle charge the Handmaidens if you can, because they do have good stats, good anti-large damage. But yeah, the Manticore does just fade away after having chased some spears there for a moment. Empire Knights do come in, try and break up the Dryads, so the infantry fight definitely going kind of in both directions, and Volkmar, of course, will definitely change things. 75 kills and climbing. We've got a second Manticore summon as well. Manticore could potentially be used to pressure Alariel away also. You can see Alariel's over here kind of caught out by some Empire Knights. If they were a little bit closer, this Manticore could potentially get over there. And again, Manticores on rear charges, I can't emphasize enough, just do so much damage. And Manticore's going to try and get out there, but I don't know if he'll be able to get out there before the Empire Knights route. The second unit of Empire Knights as well, kind of overrunning into the archers there, probably also should try and go support that engagement if the Manticore is. But yeah, here the Illyrian Reavers able to break through, finally finish off this last artillery piece. The spearmen are not quite in a position to stop that charge. They do stop most of the crew from getting killed, but it is going to dismount the artillery piece, I believe, there at the very least, although the Reavers will probably lose out. The other 2 artillery crews have come back from route. If he could get them back and re-secure these artillery pieces, that would be great. But the High Elves have won this part of the battlefield pretty decisively. Other than Volkmar kind of riding around, which, I mean, granted, he will be able to do a lot of damage to these infantry. Yeah, you can see the Manticore was able to get some damage on Alariel, but just the Empire Knights, they weren't there to kind of tie down, at least not quite in the right place at the right time. These Reavers were probably able to help re-secure as well. And Volkmar coming in, a beautiful Soulfire, going to do a ton of damage to these Elf infantry, help clear them out very effectively. And the Empire Knights charging in, yeah, it's anyone's game at this point. Still a very, very close game. Unfortunately, this Mortar crew getting taken out by the Handmaiden is a little bit unfortunate, but still some very healthy Spearmen, and Volkmar just an absolute powerhouse into the late game. The Amber Wizards calling down some Flocks of Doom will be pretty nice. Credit to Falcon, though, even though he only had 2 units of relatively squishy light cavalry, the Illyrian Reavers have mostly been able to stay alive up until, now when they're getting terrified away. Even though they've taken a lot of damage, they've still been in the right place at the right time for the most part. Archers have been mostly cleaned up, infantry's been mostly cleaned up, so it's probably going to come down to whether or not Volkmar can finish 2 Handmaidens and Alariel, which something tells me, despite the fact Volkmar is an absolute beast, he's not really great against other single entity models, as you might imagine. So this could end up being bad for him if he doesn't, have any kind of supporting units left. There are still plenty of State Troop Spears that they can get back. If he can get these artillery crews back online, again, that could be a good way to take out Alariel, especially this Great Cannon crew. Just a few shots from them would finish off Alariel's leadership. We'll see. For the time being, Volkmar rolling around. He's right now, I feel like he's chasing the Handmaidens. He really just should be focusing solely on the White Lions and other infantry units. Get rid of them completely and try and make sure you have as many spears as possible into the late game to try and finish off Alariel. But Falcon also doing what he needs to do, kind of using these Illyrian Reavers, chasing routing units, getting his units back together here. Earthblood also on Alariel. They're going to be, refreshing these White Lions a bit as well. The 1 unit of State Troop Spearmen unfortunately routes, as Volkmar again is kind of focused way too much on these Handmaidens, where I kind of get that. Whenever they charge in, he wants to countercharge them. Like I mentioned earlier, utilize that charge bonus and the mass to kind of stop them up so that the Spearmen can get some work done. But the White Lions, I just think if you get rid of the White Lions as quick as possible, then you have more Spearmen to support against the Handmaidens, and the Spearmen will trade very cost-effectively with the Handmaidens with their anti-large bonus and just their very cheap cost. But the fact that Falcon has these archers back from out can kind of get this nice crossfire situation here, take out the Spearmen's leadership. Like I mentioned, it's going to basically come down to just Volkmar by himself trying to finish everything, which unfortunately, I mean, he can do a lot. He absolutely can do a lot. Falcon's going to use up the last of his ammunition there, but 3-on-1 single entity fight, especially 2 anti-large, pretty good combatant anti-large single entities at that in the Handmaidens. It just doesn't work, right? Like, as I mentioned in many videos and will continue to, kind of thump on about, single entity combat is very much a numbers game. I mean, obviously not sometimes. Like, if you have 2 casters fighting, I don't know, Kolek, that's not going to go particularly well, right? But in most situations, as a general rule, the more single entities you have fighting in a single entity fight, the more likely you are to win. Like 2 versus 1, the person with 2 will win. 3 versus 2, the person with 3 will win. Obviously, 3-on-1 is going to be even worse for the 1 sole combatant. Volkmar will hold out for some time, but one of the reasons why is you can do this. You can continuously, ping 1 unit in, rear charge. As he turns, the other unit pulls away, rear charge, continuously cycle, and especially like a triangle of single entities kind of all in on each side, like 1 on this side, 1 on this side, 1 on this side. It's just so strong. You lose single entity combat that way very easily if you're the one caught out isolated, so why it's very important to try and maintain support, and even just some supporting spears would have definitely helped a lot here in this late game. But Falcon able to take home the win, and a very interesting builds on both sides. I like it a lot. Volkmar able to rack up a ton of kills against that mass infantry, but how about those Handmaidens, man? 107, 67 kills. Their shots do, I believe, penetrate multiple infantry models, so they can be good at kind of picking away there. Yeah, the Spearmen got run over pretty hard. White Lions, though, I'm not the biggest fan of them as a unit in general, but there are some situations where they're pretty good. Here, they ended up being excellent because they were able to clean up a lot of state troops very cost effectively. The armor coming into play there. Armor piercing doesn't matter so much. But the archers, although they got ran over a little bit by some Empire Knights, were also able to come back in the late game, get some great damage done, and excellent work with the Illyrian Reavers as well. I'm always talking about how much I love these guys, how cost effective they are, and they definitely proved that here. I mean, they're not world beaters, but for what they are, they will pay for themselves, absolutely. For the Empire side, I mean, I like this build. It's definitely different from something that I would bring. For myself, I mean, Steam Tank in this kind of a build could be risky. Handmaidens will kind of pick away at it, although because their missile damage is pretty low, with healing, you really can get away with doing a lot. So I would definitely say in this matchup, you want to bring a Steam Tank. I would probably cut, all these artillery pieces together would probably, let's see, yeah, just about buy you a Steam Tank. Maybe not. Maybe you'd have to find a little bit more points somewhere else. But you just cut these 3 artillery pieces and bring a Steam Tank, which, yes, has a lot less volume of fire, but it still does really good DPS, unbreakable terror, and just, it's hard for the High Elves to kill. It also would have been great against this mass of infantry, and unlike these artillery crews, it's not vulnerable to getting shot by archers. I mean, mass High Elf archers will do DPS to it, in volume of fire, but I mean, it's not like they're going to die instantly like those artillery crews do. Yeah, as for the rest of the build, Silver Bullets, I see other people use them. Yes, they are a great unit. I just tend not to use infantry skirmishers that much because I like skirmish cav a lot more. So I would probably change them out and change the flagellants out and bring like 3 pistoliers. Obviously, if you're going to have a steam tank, then you definitely want to bring healing. But another thing you could do, if you don't necessarily want to bring Volkmar here, which I definitely think that Volkmar and Karl Franz both are exceptionally strong. Karl can be a bit risky because of Tempest and Alariel, but anyway, go ahead and have a look. You could do an extra wide build with Archlector. Archlectors are a little bit vulnerable, but because they're so cheap, it's not the worst thing in the world if they go down. But you could do a kit like this. About 1370 here. I'd definitely bring a Warrior Priest as well for the secondary, buffs. And then we'll run them with 2 groups of Demigryph Knights. And then let's also bring a Steam Tank. This is a pretty elite kind of center, but we can then supplement that with plenty of state troops. Spears, definitely want the Sigmar's Sons. Let's grab some Pistoliers as well. This is definitely a lot more of a Dov build, I would say, than what he had. But I mean, you could definitely bring at least maybe 1 unit of Empire Knights here. Maybe even you say, let's only have the Archlector with 1 unit of Demigryph Knights, and maybe we only bring actually the Royal Alto Griffites, and then we maybe say the Warrior Priest can go, either with a cavalry squad. Maybe we just bring a couple of Empire Knights, maybe like an Empire Knight and a Reichsguard or something. I don't know. Or you could even take him with a bit more of an elite infantry force and say, let's grab a couple of great swords, or even, if we take him off the horse, actually, we can take the ROR Flagellants plus 2 more. So then you have like this line of spears, the second line of unbreakable DPS with some attack buffs and other defensive buffs, some mobile fire support. Your anti-large here can come from the Royal Altdorf Griffites and buffed up by the Archlector, and of course the Steam Tank. Oh wait, no, I'm forgetting a caster. So we would probably then need to at least drop 1 of the Flagellants here, and to bring a Jade Wizard, probably just bring him on foot, no Life Bloom. Let's just bring Earth Blood, or actually, no, Shield of Thorns and Regrowth. And that actually is pretty cheap. We might be able to afford upgrade one of these guys again, Outer Souls, just because they're so strong. The extra unit models actually does help quite a bit. Something like this, I think I might go with. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a very different build, but that Volkmar, I mean, don't get me wrong, Volkmar is absolutely great here, and just an absolute powerhouse, but this is another direction you can go for your consideration. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. That's going to be it for me for today. So, yeah, if you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.